Hello! Welcome back to Pages into the Past. Today we're going to do more of a history-bounding winter wear. I decided I wanted to make a coat, and I'm going to make View A, the shorter version. I need a winter jacket. The downside of this is I did not understand when I ordered this that this is petite. Or it has a petite option is what it has, where on the pattern itself it says fold here for petite. And it's the plus size, so it goes up to a size 22. Unfortunately, they think that a size 22 waist is 37 inches. Mine is not 37 inches. My bust is also not 44 inches. I might be able to squeeze my hips to a 46, but the rest of it is really not going to fit. And so I am going to attempt to alter this pattern. So what I've done is I've been trying to math. So the pattern itself says that the finished bust on the size A for the size that I want should be 49.5 inches, which is a 5.5 inch ease on this pattern. So what I have done is I took their measurement of their bust measurement. I calculated my bust measurement, subtracted the difference, added the ease, and calculated how many inches I had to expand my pattern in the bust. And this one is 16 inches. Now that's a lot of inches to add into the bust area, and I'm not really sure if I need all of those 16 inches because when I measure out on the pattern, it's a little confusing. In the waist, definitely have to add there. And I have to add about, I think it was 14 inches is what I figured. And then of course when you add the extra, 5.5 inches there, yeah. So there's quite a bit of inches to add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draft me a mock-up and give myself extra room here and there, give me the room that I think that we're going to need. So you can see here, the pattern itself shows you the fold line for petite. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit for you. So there's a fold line for petite, and then there's a lengthen line. I need to lengthen this by about 1.5 inches. So what I will be doing is I'll be adding length here. And then on top of that, I will be lengthening all the pieces all the way around. When I measure the front on the pattern, when I measure from the top of the shoulder to the waistline that they have, compared to my waistline, because I have to do a full belly adjustment as well as a bust adjustment, I have to lengthen it by like 6 inches. So what I've decided to do is, because there are 6 pieces and I don't have very much of a rear, what I've decided to do is piece 1 is going to get that 1.5 inch in the back. Piece 5, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Piece 6 will have 1.5 inch adjustment. Piece 7, which is the side back, or the center side back, is going to get lengthened by 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, and 6 inches. So that in the front I have hopefully accounted for everything so that it looks all one length. That is why I'm doing a mock-up, because I want to make sure that I've added all these extra inches in. I'm going to just do it out of some scrap cotton. The fabric that I want to use is like a tapestry with a wool lining. It doesn't have a whole lot of stretch. If I can get it to fit in cotton, then it'll fit everywhere else. So one thing that I did find in here was that I'm not quite sure about the pocket. It shows the pocket in fabric and in lining, and then when you read the directions, it's only attaching it as lining. So I don't know what I'm going to do. But what I've done is I took, in order to figure out how much I needed to add to all of my pieces, I took the back pieces because I took my back measurements separate from my front. And I knew that I had to add extra inches. And so with the ease on it, and I'm making this so that I don't want this super skin tight. I have adding 9 inches to the back at the waist, which leaves about a 10-inch waist in the front, which I've extended to 12 inches, just to make sure that the front and the back kind of give me a little bit more movement, because I'm also going to be using thicker fabric than cotton. The bust area is a little confusing because when I do the bust up front, I'm finding that the bust is already very big. So that's why the mock-up. So we're going to get started on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this out. Not full length, but I'm going to trace it out just for fitting purposes. And trace it out with the add-ons needed. Get it stitched together for a fit. So I will draw that out and get back to you. Alright, so this is piece number 6. Piece number 6 says we're going to lengthen this by 1.5 inches. And we are going to make piece number 6 1.5 inches at the waist, and we are going to take the back and we are going to add 2 inches at the shoulder. Now that might be too much, which is why I'm doing the mock-up, because 2 inches in the back, I may need more at the front. This is why I'm going to do it this way to start with. One thing that you want to remember when you are adding extra width in areas, if you don't need it at the shoulders, you're going to start widening just at the scap, just at the top of your shoulder blades to widen this piece, because the more you add to the shoulders, then it's not going to fit at the shoulders. And so when you're adding piece after piece after piece, and say that you have 4 shoulder pieces and you've added that's a very big shoulder, and most people don't need more than the 4 to 6 inches at their shoulders anyhow. So you don't want to get too much of that, and then you also don't want to alter the neckline too much. You want to make sure that your adjustments are done in the main body, not in the shoulder and neck, unless that's what you require. Okay, I did some more math, and I've decided to add 2.5 inches at the bust all the way around. The measurements that I took, physical measurements where I think it's supposed to line up on the pattern, show that I don't need to add an adjustment, which I know is a lie, because their finished bust measurement and mine don't match. So I'm going to add 2.5 inches for this piece, and then at the waist on piece number 6, we're adding 1.5. So the best way to do that is if you start in the middle and you kind of make a V outwards, so that you create yourself, here's your grain line. If you know that you have to come out 1.5 inches here, extend your grain line up and make sure that you're splitting that evenly in the center of the pattern, so that you're not changing the cut of any of these other lines. Those cuts will stay the same, and you're only going to widen in the middle for a more even adjustment, and then you're not having to line up notches or redraw them. All right, I'm rethinking this now. That's an awful lot to add on that back piece, 2.5 inches. I don't think it's right. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm only going to add the 1.5 inches that I'm adding at the waist. So maybe that will make it a little bit more proportional, because it just seems a lot of adding on that back piece. A lot more than I think is needed. Lining up my little marks for my straight of grain where I was before, trying to keep as much in line as you can down to where this originally stopped is now is going to be here. So this is the waist that I've added, and then the rest of this should be good when I move it back to the original grain line. And this is a lot of work to do. It truly, truly is. You're going to be doing a lot of extra work that you're thinking, is it really worth it? But as a plus size person, I have found that my unique body shape does not lead to where I am happy or comfortable with their direction. And now I've got 5 more pieces to do that on, so when I get all done with that, I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, all cut out. And now I'm going to double check my measurements of what I've got cut out. And if everything looks good and I don't have to make any super alterations, I think I'm going to cut this out of scrap fabric and see how that goes. Alrighty, so I'm laying it out on this fabric. I don't even know what it is. It's some kind of a knit fabric with a lining, so I'm not going to line this. And I thought I would give that a shot, because if it's the right size, this will be kind of like a sweatshirt, and then I'll make it out of my other fabric after I've got this tried. So I'm going to cut it out and see how it goes. Alright, so here's the mock-up. It is too big, so I have to go back and take some more measurements. It is really rather large. The back is very large. Everywhere that I extended the measurements is really, really large. So, 1, this is why we do a mock-up. 2, out of material that didn't cost us anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this apart. I'm going to go back to my pieces, lay them back out over the original pattern, shrink them down widthwise, not lengthwise. I added extra length in the front so that the front and the back, when it's closed, would appear even and not super short in front, because I added 6 inches to the front, so it would have been more like this. I mean, the pockets turned out great, but I like it all to be one length when I'm sitting in the car. I did not add the sleeves yet because I wanted to look at this. So, unfinished on the inside, what I'll do is I'll take it apart. The side seam here seems pretty close. I think it's just the back that is way too big, and I'm just wondering if I take in the back measurements, if it will do what I want it to do. Give me a little bit more, not such a bag lady look. So that's what we're going to do. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this piece back. I've put it back on my form, and I'm going to cut this part off here back to the original line because the back of this is too big. I'm going to keep the length because I think it's a good length, but I'm going to cut that back and possibly the side piece to bring it in, because this will eliminate a couple inches just from that point right there. Alright, so now I'm working on the second piece to cut down, and I'm going to cut this section out back to the way it was. This here, let me get you a better picture. Alright, this here was all that got cut off of the center back. So it's not a huge amount, but I do think that this will make the difference in how the shoulders sit and how the waist sits. So I think I'm going to start with these two pieces, stitch it together, check my fit. If I have to take in more, I'm going to take it in on the side back, which is piece number 8, but I didn't pull it apart yet from the other half because the pockets are already sewn in, and so I will see what I can do after I do this. I don't want to take too much off too quick. So I figured these two pieces are in the back. We'll see how that sits before we make any other decisions. Okay, finished jacket. Things that I would change are the pockets are in the center seam. I'm going to move them forward a seam on the next one and bring them up just a little bit higher. I'd like it a little bit, my pocket's a little bit more accessible up front. But this is the finished product. This is lightweight. It's not lined, just fabric that I had. And this one will be worn for mid-autumn, like it is at the time of filming. And then I'm going to make the next one with the pattern that I've adjusted for my winter coat. So I'm going to line that one with something warm. Hello and welcome back, or at least I'm back. So the last I filmed, I was working on my purple coat, which was my mock-up for my winter coat. So this is what I'm using for my winter coat. It is a tapestry. I think it has some really beautiful colors to it. And I'm using, the fabric that I'm using is all stash fabric. I'm not buying anything new, no new buttons, nothing new for this outfit. And as I was cutting this out, I realized I didn't have enough length to do the front inside piece to match. So what I decided to use is this golden color faux suede, or it's a dough colored faux suede that will pull up some of the tans in this tapestry fabric. And then my lining is like a faux dupioni in the same dough, golden dough, we'll call it golden dough skin. It's in the same color family. And here is that. So this will be the lining. The dough skin is going to be the front facing and collar facing. And then the main jacket is going to be this gorgeous tapestry. So I have cut out the jacket parts, not the lining yet. I'm going to stitch those together. When I'm done doing that, I will cut out the rest of the lining. There are 5 pieces or 5 sections to cut out of this. I think this is some sort of faux dupioni, but we'll cut it out of that, and I will keep tagging back and showing you my updates. So remember when I said I didn't have enough fabric to do the front inner lining? I also forgot that I needed sleeves. Piecing is period is what I always hear, and so what I've had to do is go through all of the scraps, sew them together in strips in order to cut out sleeves. So I've only got one part of a sleeve done, as you can see here, and I have the other over sleeve cut or sewn together to cut out, and then The fabric over there has to be sewn on that side, has to be sewn together in order to do the undersleeve. So, adaptability, you know, mistakes happen, stuff happens. Try to just go with the flow and say, yeah, it's all good, because you know what? There might not be many people who actually notice it. I'll notice it. My husband might notice it. My kids, no, they'll never notice anything. And my friends, the only reason my friends would know is because they sew, and they probably will watch this video. So, all right, on to the next cut. Here are my pieced together sleeves. I did not attempt to pattern match, as there was not enough fabric to pattern match. You can see that there's a sleeve here, oversleeve, oversleeve, and then the undersleeves here. I don't think that they look too terrible as far as when you hold them up to wear them. So I'm going to try making my sleeves out of these pieces. If I find that the pieced together parts are too distracting, I will go to the suede. But I just feel like that's too distracting when I'm looking at the jacket. Alright, so here you can see the jacket. And then this is the suede front. I have the lining on the outside of the jacket, right sides together. I'm going to stitch that together, and then I'm going to work on the sleeves, because this part's not going to change. So, that's my next step. I went ahead and sewed the lining and the jacket together. Now it's just putting them together, turning it through, and adding the sleeves and buttonholes and evening up the bottom. All right, here's our sewing update. I have jacket body all sewn together, and I top stitched the front and the very first bottom section. And now I'm going to put the sleeves together, get those in before I finish hemming everything together. All right, I have the sleeves done. So here are the pieced sleeves. And I don't think you can really tell. So I'm pretty happy with the way. Now I don't have the lining in yet, so just have the standard sleeve. But as you can see here, you can see the different seam lines, but they're just not visible from far away. So I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to put the lining in. Alright, well, we're getting ready to finish up this project. I've got the pockets in, I moved them from the side to the more front here. And you can see that the sleeves, you can't really tell that they are pieced together. The last two steps I have to do, I serged the lining and this so that I could fold it up and stitch that together. And then the last step is going to be doing the buttonholes and the buttons, and then this project will be done. It's still a little bit big, so I'm thinking that I might have to take a little bit on the front end, but that's a future project. I have the lightweight jacket and this jacket. This is much heavier. It's tapestry style, and this should be great for winter wear. And then my other purple one should be good for the lighter, warmer days of fall and spring. But yeah, so I'm going to get that all done. And then I'll give you a final shot of me wearing it. And it's done. So I'm very happy with this. I've moved the pockets from center up to the front, so I can keep my little fingers warm. And it is a little big, but that allows me to put something thick sweater on underneath. So, ta-da! So thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and follow along on my journey. Thank you.